And to everyone else, go touch some fucking grass. I am done. I'm fucking done.
Sorry, Shannon. My premier told me that I'm not allowed to go outside anymore. So I will not be touching grass. And instead, I watched your 2-hour-long video. Before we get into that, Squish Gordon is present because I'm not home, obviously, which is why I look like this. And I'm holding my microphone like a potato. This video has been put ahead of the next video I was going to make that I've actually been working on already for a few hours. Or not even a few hours, a couple of days. So that I put that on Twitter. It's going to be a revisiting Jimmy Snow after all this time. Because some stuff has kind of surfaced that's been quite interesting. Anyways, so today's video is only in 2 sections because this is a long one. And I'm going to TLDR this as much as I humanly can. Because I keep sneezing because of allergies and I'm having a time. So right out the gate, okay, we're going to reflect on Creepshow Art's past and what we know from our videos that we made. So right out the gate, the video that Creepshow Art made, which was 2 hours long and terrible, specifically only reflected on the issues that she had with Emily Artful. And I don't think Shannon realizes this, but a lot of the problems spanned far beyond just Emily Artful. The only thing is that Emily Artful was the most serious set of allegations and serious set of issues at hand. People were already mad with Creepshow Art when they found out about the Kiwi Farm stuff and how she betrayed her friends in the community and how she acted with those people, right? People like Ready to Glare, for example.
Later on, I find out via Shannon that people are alleging that she's posting this vile shit about her friends on lolcow. She tells me that it's someone impersonating her and spoofing her IP address. So she's not the one, there's someone pretending to be Shannon. That was the narrative. She'd been my close friend for years, and I didn't understand much about how IPs worked and spoofing and what's possible versus what's not possible versus what happens all the time. I was inclined to believe her because she was a friend of mine.
So already at the gate, to have completely ignored all of that and just called everyone stupid, literally the description box of that video was so comical, just calling everyone lazy. Even though, once we get into it, Creepshow Art's own proof is disjointed, poorly laid out, confusing, and the structure quite literally gave me a headache. So if we're going from that, I don't think it's laziness to not do the gymnastics. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between that jump, right? And what's really interesting when looking at the video that Creepshow Art put out and looking at the reflection from the past is a lot of the ways that Shannon addressed people, addressed addiction issues, addressed mental health issues, were kind of synonymous with the descriptions of character that people had when they had problems with her. So, you know, a little bit of a self-report. You know, kind of weird. Like, when people talk about how you're cruel and how you'll mock people's mental health and mock people's capabilities of doing things and mock like where they came from and then have a section in your video called heroin, you're kind of feeding right into everything that people said. When people were making the Onision videos that were talking about how poor his character was, and then he would respond by screaming and slandering people, kind of makes you think. So when you think about the Kiwi Farms and the way that they address things and the way that they lied about IP addresses specifically before, a lot of these claims kind of become questionable on their own merit, separating even from Emily Artful and their reputation in the past. Which, this was a really quick first part of the video, but it's because when the video at hand that we're going to be watching, well, we're not watching it, girl. I already put in the work. And I hope that you don't have to either. The video that I'm going to be talking about was 2.5 hours long. So let's get into part 2, the Creepshow Art video. Like, if we want like a thesis statement or like an overarching theme of the whole video, it is, I once said I did not hate this person for abusing me. I later said, wait, hold on. They did abuse me, and it hurt me very much. And Creepshow Art's idea here is because at one point someone said that they didn't have issues with the abuser, therefore there is nothing that could have possibly changed, no reflection that could have possibly happened, or any sort of instance of shift of mentality. So obviously they lied about everything, no matter what. And even this comes into the addiction issues, right, with Emily Artful. So the next point I have is talking about how addiction is more complicated than someone saying, I stopped doing drugs, or that I did drugs at one point. So Emily had supposed, according to Shannon's like receipts and all that kind of stuff, some like a different sobriety date than they claimed. But it's interesting because you have a 20-minute dedicated section to shaming Emily's addiction. Why someone would dare to perhaps lie about their sobriety date and lie about any sort of relapse? Maybe when people are dedicating videos to attempting to point fingers and mock their addiction and the problems they've had in the past, that they would not want to claim a relapse, because then they have fallen back into the habits that people so shame them. Creepshow Art also goes into all these humiliating posts talking about how Emily would make claims towards people and be mean to other creators when you're literally the queen of Kiwi Farms. Boop. The whole time I was just like squealing because there was so many of these claims about Emily like supposedly like trying to boot. It was just like the statement that I went over in the last video, where it was just me saying a lot of this feels like projection. A lot of this feels like, oh, I've acted towards you in X way and I'm just going to put it on you. And that was also Emily's entire video, right? Was Creepshow Art attempted to flip the script on the so-called abuse allegations, etc., right? Everything in this video is a legend, but I do want to say that it seems like a repetition of character as to how Emily described your character. If you're literally projecting one of the crimes you so committed without acknowledging it and doing it towards Emily. Shannon goes into all these like posts, right? Talking about how Emily claims mental health issues and that she's oversharing and she was misdiagnosed and all these different things. But the fact that like, you know, you don't like to claim internet culture. Like I get that, especially like, you know, Shane Dawson stands, we'll say like it was a different time. But like mental health oversharing on websites like DeviantArt and Tumblr for people who were crying for help was something that was really common 10, 15 years ago, which was when a lot of these receipts were pulled. Kind of weird. And so Creepshow Art also keeps flip-flopping on whether they are approving the idea that Emily Artful had mental health issues or denying them altogether, while simultaneously making claims that Emily Artful attacked someone who happened to have been autistic on the guise of knowing there was mental health issues there. But then Creepshow knows supposedly that there's mental health issues with Emily, but will also neither claim nor deny them, but then attack Emily Artful on those premises. There's a lot of abuser tendencies in the way that Creepshow Art is depicting the situation. Not only were there sentiments of projection and deflection in the video and mockery and frustration overall from Shannon's part that is kind of seems to be somewhat misplaced, there was an issue with blaming the self-harm on the boyfriends. That was a claim that Shannon outright made. Now, we gotta look at the whole syllogism from philosophy for a second, which I'll pop up a picture, of course. Also, that's your standard kind of if P, then Q, right? So in the case of what Shannon is setting up here is if Emily mental health problem, then relationship bad with boyfriend, right? So that's kind of like the premise that she's made. It's like, well, she's blaming self-harm on the boyfriend. She's causing her poor behavior and her issues with bipolar disorder, etc., are ruining these relationships. So obviously, if P then Q can work the same way as not P then not Q, right? If I am breathing, I am alive. If I am not breathing, I am not alive. That would be a simple one. So P being Emily has mental health problems, then resulting in Q relationships ending. Then if Emily does not have mental health problems, not P, then their relationships are not ending as a result of those issues. However, you cannot have, it is a fallacy if you have not P then Q, because you are saying that the beginning that is relating to the end doesn't exist. So if I go back to the breathing example, let's say, is I am not breathing, but I am alive. Obviously, you can hold your breath, but if you had like a clause of like, I am not breathing for 3 hours or something along those lines, right? And that's before getting into like complex medical stuff. The point is, you cannot have not P then Q. That is a fallacy. However, Creepshow Art, because of how they're flip-flopping on the mental health issue stuff constantly, and the addiction stuff, and claiming certain dates, and changing and going, well, if she claims this, then this, whatever, that has created a fallacy in the argumentation of the results of these relationships. I know, too, with a lot of these addiction conversations, kind of made me think about Demi Lovato, right? And how when they were, in 2018, how they were pushed on their sobriety and they were forced into a role model position, that they actually relapsed and didn't tell anybody for a really long time and continued to relapse until they almost died, right? Because of that shame that people like Creepshow Art put onto people with addictions on the premise of the addictions. Because the thing is, right, Shannon could have made all these claims, done the Anthony stuff, done whatever, without having an addiction section that is claiming on that premise that the addiction caused these things. And I think like Peterisms, I'm always a Peter Mon stan. I will be till I die. Peterisms is a good channel to talk about, you know, the experiences of an addict and how they feel post-addiction. Well, you're never really, and that's the thing Peter says too, is like you're never really post-addiction. You are always in recovery. He's 26 years sober. Perhaps, I can't remember when the sobriety birthday is, but and he says he still says he's in recovery. He's an addict in recovery because you're never separate from your addiction, because the second you dip in, you could fall right back in as far as you were before. That on itself is its own issue. So now continuing into the video, Creepshow will use literal single instances to vindicate people that she is supporting, such as the man that Creepshow Art claims has autism was saying something nice to Emily in a comment. Therefore, when she claimed that he was a bad person, that was not true.
Bryce is one of the people who commented on this post, and he said, letting it go is the best thing you can do, which goes directly against the crazy, evil caricature she framed him as.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's... And what Creepshow Art will do also is this whole video has a huge theme of two things cannot be true at once. So Creepshow Art says that Emily Artful was fired for whatever reason, but then was homeless as a result of being fired. So there's no way that they were homeless on the premise of the ex-boyfriend. Like, it was just two things couldn't exist at once, right? So a lot of the proof that Emily was not homeless involved pictures of her in houses. Now, guys, you can't be homeless if you ever set foot in a house, guys.
Emily said in her slanderous video that this firing led to her being homeless after leaving her abusive boyfriend who was forcing her to do cam work, which again, could not have happened.
They got me fired from my fucking job, and I actually ended up homeless for a period of time. So anytime Shannon talks about being homeless and having to live in her car, she did that to me.
Meaning she was never actually homeless. We can further prove she wasn't homeless based on Emily's own Instagram and the progression of photos she placed on them. She was fired on September 16th, 2013, according to our Instagram. Then, 9 days later, on September 25th, 2013, she posted her last photo at her father's home. We can tell that because of the pink wall in the background. The photo was captioned, "Love the way the stylistic styled my hair. It stayed this way even when I got home." So losing her job didn't impact her home life at all. The next picture she posts is this one on October 4th of some pillows on a bed with a white wall in the background. #pillows. It's funny how the littlest things he does for me makes my life even more amazing. Finally got a pillow for my side of the bed. This shows that she moved from her father's home into her boyfriend Bob's home. At no point was she sleeping on the street, and at no point was she dealing with an abusive ex who forced her into cam work. This is also the residence she stayed in with said boyfriend and his mother before she was able to move in with her now husband.
Yeah. Like, so there's pictures of her at her dad's house and her at the boyfriend's place. It is very possible that she still went back to the car right that night, or didn't have it. Like, you can couch hop and be homeless. And perhaps, you know, a lot of these things too, I can be wrong, right? And I think it was also the responsibility of Shannon to have presented these things in a way that's way less foggy. Because I feel like I'm pretty good at understanding stuff most of the time. And this was just like a absolute mind fog for 2.5 hours. But the way that she's proving these things is that a single, like 5 pictures in these people's houses at these certain times mean that she had to have 100% lived there. Pillow for my side of the bed. Well, if all she has there is a pillow and she occasionally stays at the boyfriend's house, that does not mean that she lives there. Like, that's a pretty, like, maybe it's because that's all the straws that Creepshow Art could get together. I mean, fine. But you're presenting these things as, like, incredible, hard-hitting evidence, whereas, like, these don't really relate that much. Like, you're not really giving me much of anything. And then I remember, too, they were talking about Emily getting harassed in the anime community, talking about stalkers and weird videos and stuff. And then Creepshow Art posted sequences of videos calling Emily Artful a hoe and saying that was harassment, but then never says that she wasn't a hoe. It's like, girl, okay. We kind of see what you're doing. Feels a little victim blamey, I will say. And then I remember when there was like a video of Emily in a bathtub reviewing a Sailor Moon episode or something. So then Shannon tries to make it about herself, and she'll messages with Anthony complaining that they had to get her out of the music video. So the biggest issue was a music video that Emily being hoish messed up the music video.
But you already have footage. What are you going to do? Oh, there's one of her dancing for like 10 seconds in a bra. People are just doing the internet bully thing. We didn't see the one on her channel. What do you mean? We are shooting with a new person tomorrow. We already had stuff with Emmy and now we have to throw it away. This little fucker's spam video is fucking with our goddamn production and I'm fucking pissed. We were supposed to do a shoot with Emmy tomorrow, but now she's kind of disappeared. Luckily, we found someone new, but I'd like the shit to run smooth and not waste my fucking gas and our fucking time. I don't really care if these upper middle class Bay Area fucks want to feel entitled and knock their shit around in their craft, but it's really irritating when it comes to wasting my time and money that I do not fucking have. Holy shit, that's really messed up. I mean, the other channel, the second one she has, Emily Sugarfruit. Wow, that's really messed up. Is she okay? I mean, at least you have a replacement for her, but it's still messed up. But I think she posted one under her channel too. Fucking hell, that person has too much time on their hands to be fucking with someone like that.
Also, if this is choppy and things are moving around, the filming thing is getting a little funky wonky. And as I was filming this, the government said, don't leave your house. So it got a bunch of screaming sounds and I had to stop.
Anthony were homeless by choice. To be fair, I don't know if Shannon has ever clarified that they were homeless by choice.
All right, so if you would just like to go over an overview of how you became homeless, just for people who may not know your story.
Okay, so basically when I became homeless, I genuinely thought it was going to be like a really short-term thing. I wasn't super I wasn't.
It's also interesting too that situations could be complex and have nuance only when they apply to Creepshow Art. So Creepshow Art said that they were homeless by choice, and yes, they had mentioned that before in one random live stream with this guy one time, and that they could have had a hard time with it regardless of the situation. But then even if Emily was homeless for maybe a shorter time than they claimed, apparently maybe even then again, your claim was kind of has been in a house once, thus cannot be homeless. It kind of is weird because why can situations have nuance and complexity, but only when they apply to you? And when they're applying to other people, these screenshot-esque single-minute instances are encapsulating the whole situation, and there is no possible room for anything else. Creepshow Art Shannon could not have possibly been jealous because she had already broken up with Anthony at that time. I could have not been jealous because he was my ex-boyfriend.
Where she is working. At this time, I was dating someone else and not speaking to Anthony at all, meaning any jealous motivations I would have, according to Emily, would be gone.
How is that what vindicates you? Especially because you got back together with him and you married him. obviously you were still into him, or at least had the capacity to get back into him because you married him, girl. What do you mean it was impossible to be jealous? We weren't dating at the time, but we had been dating before. And then obviously, you know, that made no sense. And then it gets into this like cute little Google review from this Karen. Talking about like Emily apparently drawing, and that proved where her location was at the time. And I think what's hard about this whole video is it is using the word of Anthony as gospel. Now, if Anthony is in fact the abuser that he allegedly is, why would he not hide stuff from Shannon? Like, what makes it true because it came from Anthony specifically? Like, it's like Anthony is the word of gospel, and the video structure is based off of like claims that Anthony has made with her, which could have totally have been manipulated or out of context the same way that, you know, Emily's could have allegedly been based on your own circumstances. Another claim too was, I never had another Snapchat. You could check my Apple ID. You could make an Apple ID very easily. And before anyone tries to claim like, oh, well, two-factor authentication, if you call Apple, I have had to do this, okay? I had a phone and I sank it. And then I couldn't at the moment repay the tab on it, but I needed a phone because I needed it for work. So I got a new number the next day, and then I couldn't two-factor authentication because my number was different. So I was locked out of my Apple. Like, Apple told me, just make another one with this number, and we'll carry the other one over in a few days. So I have a dead Apple ID floating around somewhere with apps on it that I don't remember which ones I put on because I think I didn't use that many because I knew it was only temporary. That wasn't the email because it wasn't this one specific email out of like 5 different emails I have. Like, that doesn't make, like, claiming from a single Apple ID that they happen to have been using really doesn't make sense. Also, yeah, we loved the obsessive behavior of the 13-year-old section. Let's put some, if I can find them, I'll pop them up, some Mika's 13. You know, at 13, I had a Childish Gambino and Beyonce combination fan Tumblr. I can't find it, but if anyone finds it, let me know. If anyone finds it, let me know. And send me the link, because I can't remember what it's called. And then I had, like, Pokemon profile pictures, and I was cringe because I was 13. Have you been on Wattpad, Shannon? You've been on Kiwi Farms. Like, what? I know, obviously, this is not healthy tendencies, but if you have severe mental health problems and only the internet to reach out to, like, even if you read old diaries, there are kind of worrying obsessive tendencies from kids. These are things that often happen from kids from broken families and stuff like that. So it's like, the
account, she was accused of stealing someone else's art, which led to her being harassed, according to herself. Leaving GA. Yeah, I'm being harassed behind the scenes, so I'm leaving. I would never steal art, and I'm constantly having to change my original character because they have similarities, so I'm leaving. Thanks to everyone who actually made me feel wanted so long. Okay, I'm not leaving technically. Apparently didn't do the no thing right, so my new DA name is XGizmoX. But right after this, I'm going to post a random journal so the harassers don't know. She then made a new account under the name XGizmoX, which again is the nickname she gave to her teacher. Here's proof that it's her. She continues to post about this adult man, how she told him she loved him and got mad when he told her she was behaving inappropriately and needed to stop drawing him, writing about him, and stop putting him in uncomfortable positions. When he asked her to stop, she deleted all the posts. However, she would continue to write blogs about him, which referred to him by his full legal name, letting her classmates know who she was talking about. If you care, please read this. If you have noticed, I deleted all my deviations. I have a good reason. This is all Mr. Martinez's fault. Yeah, he's Gizmo. He's fucking 31 years old and I love him. So I told him on V-Day and I got in trouble, yada yada. He got super defensive even after I told him I didn't like him, which was a lie, but whatever. So he didn't trust me at all and refused to talk to me. I know he had to protect himself, but today he said I crossed the line too much. Stop talking to me. Stop drawing pictures of me and showing them to me. Quit writing and showing them to me. Stop doing it, period. Leave me alone. And I was trying to build a regular teacher-student relationship. Basically friends, but not quite. I know I put him in an awkward position, but he's gotta move on. He doesn't trust me. I love him dearly. I love him so much. I wouldn't be happy if he wasn't happy. So I'm going to tell him tomorrow, the last day of school, that I'm never going to talk to him again unless I'm saying hi or goodbye. I never want to put him in that position again, so no more Gizmo pictures ever. Mr. Zitram. Zinetrem is his last name backwards. My heart is heavy and I'm afraid it's going to fall out of my mouth. His girlfriend has been with him even before I admitted I love him. I feel so fucking awkward. I do a picture of him on bed with the girl laying next to him and I asked her who we wanted the girl to be. And he said a name that's a girl's and starts with a G. So I thought of a model. Then my friend Alana, about 2 months later, did this stupid handshake game where you write the first initial of your true love on your hand or some crap like that. And he said G. By then I thought nothing of it. I hate my life. I hate myself. I hate cred.
There's a common symptom that a lot of counselors will relate to teenagers. They call it chronic uniqueness, because teenagers get stuck in their own narrative and they think that what's happening to them only happens to them and they are the light of the eye of everyone that they meet. So when you have this chronic uniqueness and then you have a place to popularized that chronic uniqueness, separate from any other generation before, perhaps things go on the internet. And I'm not saying that the posts about the teacher were healthy by any means, but I'm saying I would not take a 30-year-old's character off of 13-year-old them's post about how they wanted to be with their teacher. Especially with the life they have lived. And kind of weird. Have you been on DeviantArt? Like, there's a lot of other stuff that's like far more worrisome. Go look up like Sonic. go look up like Sonic stuff. And I like that Shannon likes to pose this idea that it is weird that Emily got harassed so many times. After, earlier in the video, having a compilation of people harassing her online. But then it's weird that it happened from people in her personal life. Even though people in her personal life might be in the niches that she was in that supposedly involved harassment. If I had a nickel for every time that happened, I would have 2 nickels, but it is weird that it happened twice. Like, that's kind of what you're doing. But it's like, you've mentioned that the realm of the internet and the realm of like society that Emily exists in is one that has a lot of harassment issues with it. But then are like, why did she get harassed? That's weird. So that's hypocritical. We love that. Anyways. Oh yes, and then the relating the fake account to the real account based on the way that Emily uses language. Which is what people did to you with Kiwi Farms. And then you're like, fought tooth and nail that was people impersonating you until Kiwi Farms released your IP address. Oh, so it's a professional making this assessment. Someone from experience making this assessment. Okay. Also, from someone who studies language, it is really easy to copy someone's language. Like, it doesn't take a lot to copy someone's prose. People have pretty significant styles, like, that are significant, pretty unique styles to themselves when they're working on things. And it's pretty quick to be able to pretend to be somebody else. That's why literally like catfishing exists. So even when Creepshow Art was fighting about the Kiwi Farms and saying that it wasn't them because it sounded like them, I was like, yeah, because I know how easy it is to fake someone else's. If you're like a decent writer or you know enough about somebody, it's pretty easy to pretend to be them, like as far as like on text goes. So really interesting to have a whole section relating to like trying to expose someone's fake account. Again, completely negating that happened to you and you did it against people that you supposedly trusted and trusted you. But then says no one on the internet was there for me. You jumped off the ship before. You jumped off that ship before them, so it's just, there's so much. Even like the the video with 65 views from 12 years ago from their sister, and there's just like all of this public backlash that Shannon ignores that feels so many of the topics that she addresses as hypocritical is so interesting to me. And that's why I made a point to reflect at the beginning of the video. Because it's like, what are you doing with this? Like, you really thought you ate. At the beginning of the video, hopefully, or right now, or I'll do both, someone sent me, they have a, you can have a Google things for Chrome extension that will actually still show you the YouTube like to dislike ratio. It's bad. It's like 12%. My most controversial video ever, which was actually ranking Taylor Swift albums, had a 33%, and that's because it had like 50 views and the Swifties found it. Even when Shannon's talking about their sister, the premise of the relationship with their sister is that they bailed them out financially a lot, thus was supportive of them, which is manipulative also. I think even when you like, so what I'm trying to do with this video is ignore necessarily these specific allegations because I wasn't there. I'm here to pick from what I'm seeing otherwise in relation to the position of the arguments that they're making and the position of the arguments in regards to allegations that they themselves have faced in the past and things that have been proven about them, such as those Kiwi Farms posts. And it's interesting too, because even the way that Creepshow Art lays out screenshots is very Gabby Hanna-esque in the sense that they flash so fast that you can't read them. Sometimes so much so that it's hard to even pause on them. And then they're these weird kind of the only thing that proves anything usually are like the dates. But then again, one, those are incredibly easy to doctor. And two, are kind of like irrelevant. Because again, your way of proving things is like, was in a house once. So, and even, like I said, talking about the people that YouTube that didn't support me when they were my friends because you decided you weren't friends with them by trying to defame them on Kiwi Farms. That, I know I keep reiterating that time and time again, but it's like, what support were you looking for? You buried them. And and then you even have these manipulative presentations of everything. So, in conclusion, I know this was so rambly. I'm just trying to kind of gather my thoughts on this as soon as I can, because I don't know when I'll be home or when I leave. I don't know what's going on, so I just wanted to do this while I had time. In conclusion, Creepshow Art still sucks. LaMayo. The tipster part was also really weird. I mean, we know I don't like the commentary, bros, but at the same time, it's like, you're the peak of news online? I don't know. The combative nature and the slanderous use of speech, I guess, or kind of the way that she nominalized Emily's addiction as a way to manipulate people was sickening. And don't come back. Because you said you weren't, and I'm down with that. And yeah, that is all. See y'all when I see y'all. And have a good day. Bye.